everybody, it's me, Stacey, here at Scrapbooking Made Simple, scrapbookingmadesimple.com. Hey everybody. Welcome to today's In the Studio with Stacey class. So excited to be here. Now, we are in February, and that means we are moving into a new product. But before I get to all of that, let me tell you, if you're joining me during the premiere of today's class, which is 6 p.m. sunny California time, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, you will notice that there is a live chat going on. Yep, a live chat right over there if you are on a desktop or a laptop, and maybe below us if you are on a different device. So don't hesitate to chime on in, say hey, and we will say hey right back to you. Now, In the Studio with Stacey classes are a unique type of class. It is a full year program where I have partnered with Royal Talons. I am a brand ambassador for Royal Talons. I'm also a licensed designer for Sizzix and Jacquard and Couture Creations. And this is where we take fine art product and paper crafting product and we melt them together so that they seamlessly work beautifully. And the thing about fine art product is that it's not your talent level. It's not, are you a fine artist? It's what kind of quality of product do you want to work with? And quite often in the fine art world, you can get a substantially better quality product for at the same price, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less than something we would find maybe in the paper crafting world that isn't, it's good, it's not as good as fine art product. So today I'm going to be featuring acrylics, Amsterdam acrylics from Royal Talons. And for the entire month, we're going to be featuring Amsterdam acrylics. So that's really the basis of the In the Studio with Stacey classes, is taking one type of a product and giving you class after class after class of how to use it. Not a one and done quick, not a bing bang boom quick video where it's once and you see it and then we have to move on. No, this is a foundational type of class where we share with you the benefits of the product and how to get the most out of them. And maybe one week I do this with it and the next week I do something completely different. And the third week is a whole nother technique. So you can see, oh, I really like that first technique when she did that with it. The third one, meh, that's not what I do. But isn't it nice to know what you can do with the product? In the fine art world, things are a little different than in the paper crafting world. Here in the paper crafting world, almost everything we do is called a one and done, which means the manufacturer manufactures it, they sell it. When it's sold out, you can't get it back. We are in the paper crafting world, we as makers, we want new. Bing, bang, boom. Give us the newest, the latest, the greatest, and then we move on to something else. That is completely different than how fine art is done. Fine art manufacturers make the same product for years and years and years and years. That is what they are known for. That is what is expected of them from artists, because if you are using a certain type of product, then and 5 years from now you need to replace that tube of Amsterdam paint, you need to know that that color is exactly the same. Here in crafting, in our world, I may get a 25 pack of 12 by 12 teal blue paper from a manufacturer, and then I need to reorder it, and I order the exact same SKU number, but when I get it, the colors are a little off. They're not exactly the same. That can't happen in the fine art market. No, fine artists need to know that they can depend on the quality of the paint and the colors of what they're using, and that there is stability in the market. So some of the things I'll be using in over the next year will have been around for 100 years or more, which is incredible to know that a product can be made exactly the same time after time after time. So if you love, love, love a color, let's say you love a teal blue Amsterdam acrylic paint, and then you run out of it because you use that tube on everything, you know that when you reorder it, it's going to be the exact same color you had. It's a nice thought. It was so foreign to me, but I embrace it, absolutely. Now, I am a licensed designer for Sizzix and Jacquard and Couture Creations, and I am a brand ambassador for Royal Talents, and I wanted to bring education to you. Yes, we will have products for sale, and yes, I can show those to you later, but it's mostly about the education, because I really want the worlds to collide. I want paper crafting and fine art to come together and make a beautiful, beautiful spectrum of pretty things. And the best way to do that is to teach you. So this month it is all about Amsterdam Paints. Every week I will be doing something different with Amsterdam Paints. But in the first week, actually probably the first and the second week, it really is a lot of teaching. There's a lot for me to tell you about these paints. I could just start with a canvas of some sort and put something together and make it beautiful. Yes, I can do that, and it's very simple, and you'll be able to do that as well. But don't you want to know what's behind everything, why it is the way it is, and how it got that way, and how to understand the paints better? Because not all paints, not all acrylic paints are created the same. In fact, they're very, very different. Now, in the art world, acrylic paints are really the baby of the bunch. You see, watercolors are tens of thousands of years old. In fact, if you go back to the Egyptian days, the hieroglyphics are most closely resembled to watercolors. And so tens of thousands of years old, whereas oils for oil painting are about 1400 years old, still pretty old. But acrylic paints are just about 100 years old. It's kind of like comparing the first time I went to Europe and I saw buildings that were ancient, or I went to Egypt and I saw the pyramids. It's like comparing the pyramids to my house in California. My house in California is relatively new in comparison to how old the pyramids are, or how old some of the churches or homes over in Europe are. So you're kind of got the old, and then acrylic is brand new. Now, acrylic is the binder that is in acrylic paints. The pigments are the same as what you would find in other paints. It is the binder that makes the difference and what gives them the name acrylic paints. So being that they're only about 100 years old, there was a company, there was a guy, there's always a guy or a gal who thought, I wonder if I could, and made an acrylic paint. Now, acrylic is a plastic, but it is much more like a plexiglass plastic than it is anything else. So it's super strong, it dries crystal clear, and it has got flexibility to it. And that's what you're going to find with Amsterdam paints. You're going to find that it is a paint that when it is dry, it is smooth and beautiful and clear, and that it has these properties that plexiglass has. It's super, super strong and yet completely flexible. You could do some painting on cardstock or on mixed media paper, which is what I'm using today, and then you can take it and roll it, and there won't be any cracking or any bubbling or any blistering. It really is a very unique type of paint. But when people hear acrylic paint, they don't necessarily know that it's the acrylic that's the binder in the paint, that takes those pigments and mushes them together, puts them all together, and then allows you to paint on something. Now, the first acrylic paints, when they finally came out, I want to say in the 1950s. I think that the acrylic paints were patented in the 30s, but I think that they released in the 50s. It was actually for painting your house, right? I mean, that's what acrylic paints were known for, painting your house. And they're fast drying, and it was revolutionary. And it didn't take long for hello makers and artists to say, huh, I wonder if I could paint with those on canvas or on paper or just about any surface. Acrylics will go on almost any surface and be strong and stable, and gosh, they're resistant to moisture. They're pretty darn cool. So when we get to Amsterdam, the drying time is fast. The colors are 100, I think it's 102 colors. You've got some properties in them that when you're painting with them, they look a little bit different. And when they dry to a more bright, a more full color. But I want to walk you through some of the things about Amsterdam before I start so you can see. Now, over the next few weeks, I'll be incorporating different sets. I'm starting today with the primary set because I really need you to see how they came to be and how they work. And yes, I promise we'll make something pretty at the end. But the education, the knowledge behind what we're working with is every bit as important as making that pretty thing at the end. So I think I'm gonna tilt on down. I'm gonna take you through some of them. So I'm gonna be doing a little more talking. Always the first class of a month, I do a little bit more talking because I want you to feel like this was a class worth your time. It's free. I love doing these classes. You can reference back to it at any time. I am not a fine artist. I'm not an artist at all. I'm a maker. So I see things through your eyes as a paper crafter. And I ask questions of Royal Talons and Jeff and Mary and Kim, who are guiding me through this program that they've never heard before because they come from a fine art background. But I look at this and say, well, can you do this with it? And they're like, well, nobody's ever asked that question before. Well, that's because a maker didn't have their hands on these paints before. So I am going to tilt down and I'm going to play with the paints a little bit. I'm going to walk you through some of the key codes that are on the paints so you can understand when you get them what you have. And then we're going to do some swatching because that is really where magic happens, is in that swatching. And then we're going to play away. So today I start with the primaries and I'm starting with just white. We are only going to be playing with titanium white with our primaries. Next week I'll be playing with black and our primaries, and I might sprinkle in a little bit of some of the pearl colors. But let's get started. Let me tilt on down because I want you to see and understand and walk you through some of them. All right, down we go. It's good to see everybody. And yes, it's an educational class. As well as a crafting, let's have fun class. Let's see, am I good? I think I'm pretty okay there. All right, so Amsterdam Paints. This is the primary set. These are the 20 mil tubes, and that is what we have chosen to bring in for now. You can get a 250 mil tube, and for the white, the titanium white, we are going to be carrying in this size because that white becomes something you are using on a regular basis. So the standard series are an artist grade. This is not a student grade, and it's not necessarily the highest professional grade, but it is an artist grade. So Amsterdam has one grade that's a little higher and one grade that's a little bit lower. The pigment is a fine grind triple roll in the mill. Now, what does that mean? That means they take those pigments and they grind them through 3 rollers, a triple roll mill, which means that the pigments get finely ground, and that's super important. If you are working with, let's just pull out some paper. If you are working with perhaps other acrylics, it's possible that lesser acrylic, you will be able to see the pigment because it hasn't been ground up fine enough. Now, the color is called a mass color. That is the right out of the tube, a mass color. And depending on the acrylic that you use, you want it to be as smooth and as creamy as possible. So I've got a mass color here, and because it's been ground on a triple roll mill, and just think about making flour for your bread, what they do to get that flour so fine that it dissolves when you're kneading it and putting it with your water. That's what they need to do here. They need to grind the pigment so fine that you will not see any little bumps. But perhaps on another type of acrylic, maybe not as fine art as this, if you were to, whoop, there we go. That never gets old. Whoop, there we go. If you were to take it and do a smear, you would be able to see little grains of pigment that weren't finely ground. So all acrylics are not the same. They're not. It just depends upon what it is you're wanting to do with them. Now I had a mass. I had the mass tone as the full color, and here now that I've smeared it down, I can see the body of the color, whether it's cool or warm. And you may never need to get into that. That might not be something that you are ever. No big deal. Okay, but at least you know how to tell. And you can see there's absolutely no grain at all. It's as smooth as it can be. There's a better dispersion of the pigment because it has been ground through that triple mill. Now the paint is super, super creamy. I wouldn't say it's fluid because it's not. It's not like water. But it's also not a heavy body paint. And I learned that a heavy body paint is something that is super thick that you can almost like scoop up and plop down. This has got a beautiful, just a beautiful consistency. Gosh, almost like a ganache. Like a good chocolate ganache is about the consistency. And you can see the color is beautiful, whether you're looking at the mass tone or looking to see the undertones of the color. It can be mixed with almost every medium you can think of. You want to put it in with some pastes, absolutely. You want to put it in with some gels, absolutely. What do you want to mix this with? It is very, very, very friendly to all different types of mediums. And can you use this with other acrylic paints? Yes, it's very, very friendly to use with other acrylic paints, absolutely. It can be diluted with water if you want to thin it out. And I think that is probably one of the misconceptions about acrylic paint, is that the water, what can you do with water? Can you mix it with water? Yes. Some people there was a thought that, how much water can you add? And then there were studies done to show that you can add tons of water. You are unlimited as to how much water you want to add into your paint to thin it out, if that makes your heart happy. So I literally can just start and I can continue to thin out, and it will almost glaze. The more water you add, the thinner your paint. The thinner your paint, the more transparent your paint. So I know that there was a thought process at one time that you wanted to be careful how much water you use, whether it was the ratios seem to change all the time. But after several studies, including Royal Talens and Golden doing different studies, it was determined, have at it. Have yourself some fun time. Now, because it is a plastic, it's going to dry like a plastic. You've got that acrylic binder in here, which is 100% acrylic. Look at how fabulous is this, right? And I added a ton of water to get down to that, which in reality, the true color my brush, the true color is more like this. So you can see the difference between adding water and keeping it a true color. The decisions are yours. The opportunity is endless, and the paint is based off the pigments that we're accustomed to in other paints from Royal Talons. It's all that acrylic binder. And not all acrylic paints are 100% acrylic binder. That's important to know too. This paint doesn't have any kind of an odor to it at all, and that's because it is 100% acrylic binder. If you're looking at other acrylics and they've got maybe a smell of ammonia, that's because they've substituted some of the acrylic for a different type of liquid, a different type of binder. So they've taken out some of the acrylic because the acrylic is a little more expensive than the ammonia, and they've made their new solution, which will give you that smell. You're not going to have any of that with the Amsterdam at all. So 100% pure acrylic, and look at how it dries. It's so pretty. The colors are so vibrant. So there is a way, they do have a way to see what it is you've got in your tubes. So they've got this little system down here, whether it has a square that's fully, completely colored in or not colored in or at all, plus some plus signs. Every single paint has this information on it, along with the color of the paint and below the pigment that's used in it. I'm gonna see if I can get, let's see, maybe the yellow would be the easiest to see. So let me put these aside and let me pull out the yellow. So they've got a little legend, and I don't know if I can get it up there to see, but the yellow has got 2 plus signs, and it's got a square that is half filled in on the diagonal, and then it's got the color. Now, the white had a full square that is completely filled in and 3 plus signs. Let's see, the red has got 3 plus signs, and the square is completely clear. It's just a box. There's no color in the square. Trying to see if I can get it to zoom on in. There we go. There's no color on the square at all. So all of these are a little different, and they do represent something. So let me tell you. First off, the square. Let's start with the square. We had the non-filled in, completely empty square. We have the half square, and then we have the full square. That tells you about the transparency of the product, or whether it is opaque. So a square that's completely empty means it is transparent. It is a transparent paint. So when you paint with it, you're going to be able to see through a little bit. It's going to have that transparent look to it. A paint that has half the little box colored in would be a semi-opaque paint, which means it's not fully opaque. You're still going to have a little bit of a transparency to it. And one that is completely filled in is a opaque paint. It's going to be solid. When you put it down, it's going to be completely opaque from the get-go. So they also have one that is a semi-transparent, and I don't know if I have it here. Oh, I do, look at that. Okay, so let's put these in order. So I have a transparent, a semi-transparent, a semi-opaque, and an opaque. So each of these little boxes, if I can get them up there, is slightly different from a box that is just the box outline to a box that has a line through it, meaning that it's semi-transparent, to a box that is half filled in, meaning semi-opaque, to a box that is completely filled in, meaning opaque. So those are the 4 things you're going to be looking for. Now, whether they are going to apply to you or not really depends upon what you're going to be doing with the paint. You may never look at those again, but at least you know. Now the little plus signs. Also, let's see, I've got plus, 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 plus. The little plus signs also mean something. So here the yellow has 2 plus signs. I'm hoping I can get it in there. Has 2 plus signs, where the red and our burnt under, is it, let me make sure I've got that right. Is it, I think it's umber. So the 3 here have all got a 3 plus sign behind them. That tells you how light fast they are. Remember, these aren't dye-based inks. Dye-based inks, like our Ecoline markers, they are not light fast at all. They're a dye-based ink. These are not. These have light fast to them. And you're like, well, Stacey, I don't know what light fast means. It means how long can you have it in a place that has sunlight or direct light before it will start to fade. So with a 2 plus, that means you're going to get between 25 and 100 years of light fastness. That's a pretty long time. With 3, you're looking at 100 years of light fastness under what they call museum quality lights. So I don't know. I mean, as a maker, I'm not sure that my stuff is going to make it that long. It would be nice if it did, but I wanted you to see what it means, all these different little symbols, so when you get them, you understand. So here we have our transparent, semi-transparent, semi-opaque, and opaque, and then our light fastness. 3 little symbols means 100 years, 2 little symbols means 25 to 100 years, and the only ones that don't have these little symbols would be what they call reflex colors or neon colors. Those are called fugitives. I don't know who came up with the name, but okay, they're called fugitive. They have a dye base to them to make that neon color, and they are beautiful, but they don't have any light fastness to them. And again, this might not apply, but isn't it nice to know? You now know more about acrylic paint than maybe you did 20 minutes ago. So a lot to do with these, a lot to play with, and a lot of education. Each class that I'll be teaching, I'll be bringing you a little bit more on the education side just to round out the surfaces. And I really, just like with Ecoline, I probably could do 6 months of just Ecoline markers, showing you again and again and again different things that I can do with Ecoline markers. Same with acrylics. I've got 4 weeks dedicated to it. We may have to come back to Ecoline and acrylics later on down the year so I can add in more, since there is so much to be done. So always remember, it is the acrylic that is the binder. The acrylic isn't talking about the paint, it's talking about the binder that makes the paint. And acrylic is like, for this, it's like a plexiglass. It's super strong, it's super flexible, it's super clear. And it has kind of a color shift. So when you are painting with them, they will seem a little bit lighter, but when they dry, they're gonna darken up and brighten up. And they are a faster drying paint than, let's say, an oil paint. So let's play with them for just a little bit. And I'm gonna grab some of my mixed media paper. So I am using mixed media paper just like I did with my Ecoline pins. These are not watercolor. You're not gonna be looking to use watercolor paper with these paints. So a mixed media paper, a heavy bodied paper, you could certainly use 100-pound cardstock, 200-pound cardstock. You really have an opportunity to use anything. They will go on wood, it'll go on plastic, it'll go on metal, it'll go on glass. It is moisture resistant. Just about any surface that you can think of, I feel like I've got two here. Just about any surface that you can think of, you're going to be able to use this with. So I'm gonna pull 5 of these because we're gonna do some swatching. And while I have got 6 colors in here, titanium white is titanium white, and there's nothing to swatch that with. It is what it is, it's white. So I'm also gonna grab my maker's tape, and let's go ahead and let's put down some area. So let's go. One, two. I'm going to need them smaller than that. About 1, 2. 3 and 4. All right, just trying to give myself a little bit more room. Okay, so I'm going to be using titanium white quite a bit today. In fact, that's the only color I'm going to be doing blends with. Next week, I'm going to bring in the black, and we're going to do blends with black and maybe with pearl. But I thought I would start with titanium white so you can see just how the many different shades that you can get. Now I will tell you, when you start to paint with these, you're always going to want to make a little bit more of a blend than you need, because it's really hard to go back and make an exact blend unless you know exactly how much you used. So I am going to, let me go back maybe just a little bit and maybe down just a little bit. I am going to go ahead and I'm going to put some yellow here, and you can see how creamy it is, and some white here. And then I'm going to take my paintbrush and a little water on my paintbrush. I'm not going to be mixing it with too much water. I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow, just a little bit of my yellow, and I'm going to blend it into my white. Now the thing about acrylic paint is that it dries really fast. So you want to keep this puddle as small as possible. You want to blend right into that puddle. You absolutely can use a palette knife, but I don't want it to be too much. Usually if I'm doing it with water, I don't care how big of a puddle I make, but because this is acrylic and because it is fast drying, I'm trying to keep my puddle small so that my paint doesn't dry out too fast. So I want to get a good blend, and again, if you have a palette knife, you can blend together with a palette knife. Let's see if I've got some here. So let's go ahead and let's just swatch this. Okay, my first color's down. Now I'm going to pick up a little bit more yellow. And I'm going to add it in. Gosh, and hopefully I put enough white down. And now I've got my second color. And then I'm going to add a little bit more yellow. And I'm going to blend it in. So this is called tinting. I'm tinting my, what's called my mass tone. And there I go. So now I've got my third. And last but not least, I'm going to grab a good chunk of that and move it on in. And there we go. Now I also can take it and I can stamp with it. But let's go ahead and let's do a full tone. I think I'll do a full tone so that you can see. I'll do some stamping with it a little later. Let's take my yellow and put a little down, and this time I'm going to do just a full tone of yellow. Or the full mass color right on my just so you can see a hair bit more. All right. So one bottle, one tube of acrylic paint, but so many different shades, all by tinting. Cleans up with water. So clean as you work. You're going to want to have a little jar, a little water jar for your brushes. I am horrible with water jars. I need to find me a little cup that has stability that I am not going to knock over, because I am the worst with them. So if you keep baby wipes and paper towels handy, clean as you go. Can you come back and clean your brushes later? You really want to clean them as you're working with them. Eventually the acrylic is going to dry, and it is a plastic like plexiglass, so it's pretty much going to glue all of your bristles together. Now, what kind of brushes? Definitely not watercolor brushes. And I've got Crafter's Companion brushes for you today. That's what I'm using today, but I am leaving for Germany, and I'm gonna go see what I see over there in the way of brushes. With acrylics, you don't want them to be uber expensive, but you don't want them to be icky either. So the Crafter's Companion seem to do a nice job, but while in Germany, I'm gonna take a look. Now here is my swatch of my tints using my fabulous, isn't that, look at the different colors. all from one tube. Pretty cool, right? So titanium white really becomes your friend. Let's do, and it's almost dry. Let's do our next one. I'm going to swatch all these out for you so you can see what it is we're capable of with just white paint. Boy, when you see what we do with black paint next week, holy smokes artichokes, where I'm using a lot of white to do my swatching. When we get to black, it's like you're using sometimes as little as what feels like the tip of a ballpoint pen, so little. All right, let's take our next color and let's swatch it out. So let's take our blue. And this is ultramarine blue. I want to say ultramarine blue. No, this is cyan. Cyan, I'm sorry, it's cyan primary. We've got primary yellow. We've got magenta primary. You would think it would be red, but in art, magenta is the primary. So let's try our cyan. So a little bit here. And then my titanium white here. I gave myself a little more this time. I'm going to tell you that tube goes a long way. So let's take a little bit of my blue and let's mix it in. And you can either do it with your paintbrush or a palette knife. It's up to you. I'm like, why get another tool dirty? It's just one more thing for me to clean. And I like to keep my little puddle little because this is a fast drying paint. If I spread it out, the thinner I spread it out, the faster it's going to dry. Okay, that looks pretty good. What a beautiful color. Oh my gosh. And then let's go ahead and, let's put this down. And I'm using Sizzix Maker's Tape. Oh, I didn't blend as well as I could have. Got a little bit in there that's a little dark. There we go. So pretty. I think when I was a child, I had a room this color, my bedroom. Now a little bit more. And let's take it in and darken up. Get it blended in there really well. And let's see what we've got. A little bit darker blue. And then let's take a little bit more and add it in. And get that white blended in there. And a little bit darker blue. And because the titanium white is opaque, all my color here is opaque. And then a little bit more blue. That was a lot more blue. So I'm just showing you a few of the shades you can make, a few of the tints actually that you can make. You can do everything like this plus anything in between these colors. It really is pretty fabulous. And then the last one I'm going to do, let's just take a full, just so you can see what we started with. I didn't get nearly dark enough. Yeah, see, I could have gone way darker on some of these, but I kept them pretty light. And this one is semi-transparent, so you can kind of see the paper through the bottom of it. And it goes on kind of lighter until it dries. And it dries with that beautiful, beautiful crystal clear. Okay, I think I'm good. So let's move this one to the side for a minute. And let's, oh, kills me to wipe all this paint down, but that's okay. Wipe it away. Clean up as we go. I'm on my my non-stick, non-slip craft mat here. So my craft mats are a little different. They have a silicone back so that the minute you put it down, it's a non-slip. So non-stick on the top, ooh, non-slip on the bottom. And let's move on to our next color, which is red. Clean my brush. Take some water to it. And again, you might just have a little mason jar or something that you're using to clean your brushes. And you're not going to want to use your watercolor brushes for this. That's not what this is for. This is not watercolor paint or ink. Let's slip these off and see what we've got. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I could have done them, had something in between these. But to give you an idea of what can be done. So let's put that one aside. And let's do our next one. And we'll do our red. I'll try to be a little more aggressive with the red and darken it up a little bit more. And then they are blendable. If I'm blending it with white, I can blend it with any color in my acrylic series. So let's take our red and put some red down. Well, it's not red, it's magenta. And let's take our white and put our white down. And then we'll move into each other. So a little bit of red into my white. Blend, 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 blend. Mix, mix, mix. So it's going to be great on paper, on acetate. You probably can get away with it on vellum, on chipboard, on MDF, on glass ornaments, any type of a plastic. And let's make our first one. okay, nice, simple, soft pink. Let's add a little bit more. Zoop. See, I was a little more aggressive with my red. Magenta. And then let's get a little bit more aggressive with it. I'm picking up a nice big splot. And blend, 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 trying to keep my puddle. So we are tinting. Tinting means lightening. And then a little bit more. And then, oh yeah, this is great. And then last but not least, we'll do the solid color. What they call the mass tone. And this one's transparent, yes. So you may, depending on what you're doing with it, want to add 2 or 3 layers of it to build up that color. Or you may be mixing it with white and you are happy with the opaque nature that you're going to get with that titanium white. Or maybe you want it to look kind of like a glaze and you're happy with the color just as is. But you can build the color by layering the color. And again, as it dries, it's going to darken up. So it starts out light, and that's the acrylic. The acrylic has got a milky kind of hue to it. And as that acrylic dries, it dries to a beautiful crystal clear. So here I was able to make some really good shades. Let's put it off to the side and let me clean up, and then I will show you. And then the last one we're gonna, well, maybe we will do. I don't know if we'll do black or not. Okay, so let's do that and put my lid on, clean as I go. Wipe down. I like swatching everything out. It gives me, even though obviously there's a million different shades or tints in between what I've done, it does give me a really good understanding of what I can accomplish. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And I think that those are, gosh, it looks like the paint swatches at the Home Depot. You can figure out what you want your room to look like yourself. No need to go pick out all those swatches. Just grab your paints, your Amsterdam paints, and figure it out, and then take it to the the hardware store and have them match the color. You got it. Okay. So this one is really an interesting color. And it is, yeah, burnt umber. I always thought burnt umber was like a yellow. And maybe in a lesser quality, it might be more yellowed. But let's see what we get. Straighten these out just a little bit. And then I think after this we'll go start to play. Don't know that I'll do black, but we'll see. Because of course black is going to give you all the different shades of gray. So let's put a nice little dollop. And my white. And let's grab a little bit of my burnt umber. And let's mix it in. So I've got this very, very soft brown, keeping my puddle small so it doesn't dry out. You can take a palette knife if you want. Oh, what a pretty color. Gosh, and I think I had a dining room this color at one time. Not too long ago. So then a little bit more of my burnt umber. Maybe I go just a little bit more. Let's see if that's any darker. And then a little bit more. And I keep bolding that color up. Now you're going to want to use a paintbrush that has somewhat of a firm bristle because you need to be able to move the paint. So you don't want anything that's too that is too soft. We need something with a little bit more of a firm bristle to move that paint. And like I said, these are by Crafter's Companion. They're doing a fine job for me. I think for what we're doing, they're probably good enough. You may want to explore slightly better brushes. I'm going to explore them when I get to Germany. And then my last one we'll do at full. So look at how dark that is. I didn't get my samples anywhere near that dark. So you can imagine there's a million tints in between where I stopped and showed you the full color. And again, it's going to look a little light, but then once it dries, the colors are going to darken up. So let's clean up my mess. And then I think I'll wait to show you the grays to next week, since we're going to be playing with black next week. And now we can just start to make something. I love seeing the possibilities in a swatch card. And I think you'll find them, if you do them, helpful and useful. Because that's one color. This was done out of one color. This was done out of a single color of Amsterdam acrylic. Think about all the things you can do when you have so much versatility. Ooh, I'm gonna put these over here because this one's still drying. And I'm gonna have the girls back these. We're gonna keep those. Oh yes, we are. And add them to our swatches. I'm not gonna go through all that work to not keep them. Oh no, these are mine. Now I am playing with mixed media paper, and that's what I'm playing on. You can use so many different types of surfaces. In fact, I have over here, I have canvas board here, and we have it in our retail store. We'll be adding it to our online store. We have canvases too, but canvas board is an easy do. These have been pre-coated with a gesso, which is a medium that allows the acrylic to kind of hold to it, so you don't have to prime them or prep them. They come in a million different sizes and shapes. I like them because like this size you can make a darling coaster out of. Really cute. But I want to show you how these blend a little bit just on some canvas board. And I think I will take a little bit of my yellow and maybe put a little yellow across, and then maybe a little bit of red, and then maybe some blue. Now I might have to add color. I may choose to add some white. We'll see. I want to make sure my paintbrush has a little bit, that it's nice and kind of damp. So I'm not adding water to thin, I'm just kind of dampening, and I've still got quite a bit of brown in here. Well, I'm gonna go for it. Canvas board is really inexpensive and a great way for kids to play too, because it's got structure, it's got stability. So I literally can just go back and forth, just moving that paint all around. And then move up into my yellow, and you'll start seeing the blends. A little bit more blue. Blue, blue, blue. So it coats super quick. And then I might take this and wipe this off just a little bit. And maybe add a little bit more red, red, red. And take that in, because what's that going to make? Purple. Brush, clean, clean, clean. And pull up some of that, maybe just a little bit. I want a little bit more of my red back. Blend, blend, blend. And then I think we'll do into our yellow. In fact, I'm going to use a clean brush for my yellow. And take my yellow into my red. And that's going to make orange. So I can absolutely get some fabulous blends. They are meant to blend. They don't need water to blend. They just do it on their own. So, I mean, I can get some beautiful, beautiful blends. So pretty. Now I need to let it dry, and you can see it's kind of got a sheen to it. That's because it's wet right now. And as it dries, the colors are going to become more vibrant. Absolutely more vibrant. So let's put that one there for now. And let's do another one. And this time let's add in a little bit of white. And let's not be so specific about where we're putting things and what we're doing. So clean my brush, and maybe we do a little bit of blue. A little bit of yellow. And a little bit of white. You know what? I'm going to pull my white from there. All right, I'm just going to go for it. So I've just got, now I'm going to do this on paper too, just kind of a mix. And look at how pretty is this. Get my sides real good. Get my bottom real good. And I don't want to blend it too much. I like the little stripies. So I can come back in and add maybe a little bit of blue here, just a dab, just a little dab will do you. And maybe I can add just a little bit of yellow here. And then swipe. And just add that color in. I can add some white. It's all about options. And it all blends lovely to whatever it is you're looking for. However much of a blend you want to make, it's up to you. Now I think I'm going to leave that. Can you imagine doing coasters out of this size? Can you imagine doing Christmas ornaments? Oh my gosh, these would be absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to let this dry. Right here. And I think we'll move to paper. So I am using mixed media paper. Oh, normally I would not get rid of this paint. I would use it. It's hurting my heart just a little bit to get rid of it. But now let's make something. Let's start something and make it. And kind of clean out my brush. I'm going to look for a good water brush too, or not a water brush, but a container to clean these out. I know that they've got them with like the little ribs at the bottom to help clean your brush, but I need one that's going to be stable, that I can't spill. Maybe they have one with a top on it, like your coffee cup. You stick your brush in. That would be the kind I need. All right, so let's pull some paper out. And let's see, let's do some blue. Let's do a little red. It's not red, it's magenta. I have to get used to saying that. And let's pull a little white. This time not as much. There, not as much. And I'm on mixed media paper, not watercolor paper. I haven't mixed anything with water yet. I'm just going to get my sides. And then maybe I come back in with some more streaks because I like the bold streaks. And depending on how thick you make your paint, that will tell you your dry time. But you can see that the mixed media paper is taking the paint really well. A little more red at the top, magenta at the top. Okay, so what do we think? How about we give that a second to dry? and then we can go in. Now, these paints can also, they can stamp. You're like, they can stamp? Yeah, they can stamp. Clean up my mess. And to stamp with them, I'm not going to use my paintbrush. I'm going to change my tool. So Sizzix has got this tool that came out of their Sizzix Studio series. We've seen it in the regular Sizzix series, but they've never sold it this way before. And it's pretty cool. So we've seen this tool from Sizzix before. Had it for a long time. But we've never had it to where you can actually buy it just like this. Usually you have to buy this with the attachments, and then you can buy the heads separately. With Sizzix Studio, they went ahead and they did just the blending with the two heads, and you get extra foam sponges, and they sell the foam sponges separately as well. So if we're going to stamp, I'm going to bring over my stencil and stamp tool. And let's bring over one of my stamps. So my stencil and stamp tool, it's made for layering stencils or single layer stencils to realign them perfectly every time. But if you don't use the alignment tool, it then becomes a stamp positioner. So I'm able to take and put a little bit of my acrylic paint right on my sponge, kind of smoosh it in. Smush, 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 smush. Oh, Stacey. You can see what I would be like with mustard packs, right? Frightening. In fact, I think I'm going to put a little bit of my acrylic right down here. And just pick it up. And then I can come in and I can basically paint up my stamp. Remembering that it is moisture resistant. You can do it on wood, you can do it on plastic, you can do it on acetate. And then close it up, give a press, and we're good to go. There we go. Oh, I think I have this dirty on this side. All right, I've got my first stamp. Clean it up. Let's see if I've got my stamp stuck down. So either my stamp top is dirty or my lid is dirty. Clean up my stamp. Now, I'm not going to do the most beautiful job cleaning it up. I'm going to be okay. Clean the top of it. Clean the top here. And let's see if I go here. It's a little wet, so it might transfer a little bit of my yellow. Oh, not much. And this time let's add some red. So you can absolutely stamp with acrylic paint. You can stencil with acrylic paint. Get it all over my little butterfly. And give a press. and up. Yes, 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 yes. Looky there. I could blend. Let's do a little bit of yellow. And a little bit of red, and let's see what we get. Did I move it? I didn't. Let's move my paper. Zoop. Oh, so much to do with the paint, and it dries. It dries like an ink. It's super fast, super easy, right? Crazy good. So let's clean this up because I'm going to bring it back over. I don't know that I'm totally dry here yet. I don't think I'm totally dry there yet, but let's clean this up. And because I want to stamp with white on my butterfly. Clean the back. Clean my little zoop. Wipe everything down, clean as you go, which is novice for me. It's not my typical MO. I'm usually make a mess, make a mess, make a mess, and then we'll come back and clean it later. All right, so it's not 100% dry yet, but we're gonna go for it anyway. I'm going to put my first one there. Close it up. Oh yeah, still wet. And I'm going to ink it up with white. So let's change my little sponge. And let's just put a dollop of white down. Go in. Let's see what we get, because I've got a little bit of red mixed in there, but we're just going to go for it. And give a press. Oh, and it's stuck. And up! Yay! Okay, let's do it again. So I'm going to put it here this time. And let me clean that top off a little bit, just so it sticks better. And down. And left a little bit of white because there's still white on there, but let's add a little bit more white. And we'll go again. And now that I've got the first coat of white on, I won't need as much white every time. And it is titanium white. It's probably the most used color in the Amsterdam line. So let's close it up. Give a press. And pull up. Yay! Okay, let's move it. And let's go. Here. And close it up. See, I've almost got enough white without having even to add any more. And as long as I don't move my paper, I can go back over it again and again and again and up. And then let's move it. And let's do this one. Here. And close it. And some white. See, and I've got enough white in my blending brush now that all I have to do is dab, dab, dab. And close it. And up. And let's move up here and down. And dab, 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 dab. I haven't added it. Ooh, I moved it. Well, we're going to see what happens. I haven't added any more white to my little tub. I'm using what I have in my brush or in my blending tool. Don't fall. Well, let's see how close we come. Ah, slight double, but that's okay. And over here, we'll do that one that way. Nope. More paint. I think I've gotten to the point where I'm going to need more paint. And I'm going to take and because it's acrylic, I'm just going to wipe some of that off. Like it never happened. Like it never happened. When do you get the opportunity to erase ever in crafting? So a little bit more white. And down. Better. And then I think my last one, well, I'm not gonna, we'll be done. I'll call it done. So let's pull it off. And while we give that a moment, gosh, do we take this one and see what we can do with this one? How about we take one of the stamps we used last week? So this is an 8x8 stamp from Studio Light. Ooh, it transferred up some of the ink. Let's get my white and a dollop. So I would almost use this white ink as white ink. Like if you're having trouble finding a good white ink to stamp with, this may be your solution. The titanium white It does all types of stamps, and it gives you a true white finish. White ink can be difficult to find a good white ink these days. Jacquard makes a really nice frost white. And Hero had a unicorn, but they've been sold to Spellbinders, so I'm not sure what they've moved forward with. So if you're trying to stamp in white and you're not wanting to use embossing powder, the white acrylic may be a really easy way to go. Okay, hopefully I've got it over enough of it. Let's see what we got. Ooh, very cool. Need a little bit more here. And just right in here. And right down here. And we can just make pretty things. So pretty. Can you stamp with regular ink? You can. Absolutely, you can stamp with regular ink. So let me pull this one off. And I did, well, let's finish this one. You know what, we're going to finish this one. So I'm going to bring over the Ecoline Gold. This is a metallic. It is by the part of the Ecoline brand, the line of products. It's the only metallic they have, and it's sold in this beautiful liquid form. And for this, I am going to use kind of a watercolor brush because that's what this is. And I'm just going to mix. So I've got a little pipette. And I can add water to it. I'm just going to come in here and I'm just going to do the bodies of the little butterflies in gold. And I can color it straight on top. And again, it's part of the Eco line that we did in January. And I'm just going to define out their little bodies in gold. I can extend them out just a little bit further than they are, giving them a little bit more of a little tail. And then once it's dry, I can go in with a fine liner and fine line out the body. So once they're dry, I can go in with a fine liner and just start to outline the body. So the ink is still a little wet, but I did this one earlier to where you can see how it stamps beautifully. And I did the same technique, back and forth on my mixed media paper. And here I did this one and I stamped it in my waterproof Jacquard ink right on top of the acrylic, and then took my gold and went in and painted. Again, this is one of the stamps from Studio Light that we have. I don't want to get this one wet. And then I did this one, which was super similar to what I did here, only I stamped in my waterproof ink and then I went in with my gold. There are so many options. I did these earlier and they're ready to be stamped on, inked, colored. So pretty. Let's see. And oodles of opportunity. Again, this is my canvas board. Put it down. Decide where I want my stamp to be. Give a press. See, it's already dry. Give a press. And let's ink it up with my color pad waterproof. Take a look. Need a little bit more. As long as I don't move my board, I'm going to be fine. I can come in and add more ink and press again. So really everything plays with the Amsterdam acrylic paints. Everything. From stamping to stenciling to mixing and blending, and you're not limited to what surfaces you use. Really nice. I want a little darker on this side. Any surface you want to use. And then I can go in and I can paint with it. Entirely up to me. So holy smokes, artichokes, we did a lot. A lot. Pretty stamping. Pretty blending. Swatching, so you can see how to tint. My brown one's around here somewhere. Oh, right there. My burnt umber. And hopefully you learned a little bit more about what acrylic paint is and what it can do and the magic that it can make. So lovely. They're so much fun. And all I did was play with the primary colors and the white. Those were my staples today. That's what I worked with. So what's on our In the Studio with Stacey sale? Well, we'll have the Bronzil fine liners. Of course, we have the primary set. I'm going to do a set a week, I think. I'm not going to release all of them at one time. I'm going to do a set a week. So the primary, definitely the large tube of titanium, without question. So let's put these off to the side. Girls are going to make something with them. So we'll have the primary on sale. We'll have the Bronzil on sale. We'll have the gold watercolor, oh, lovely, on sale. The Sizzix blending brush will do. And the paint brushes that I was using today will do. And of course, if you've got a local independent store, by all means, go visit your art store and see if they have these. Without question, we'll do both sizes of the mixed media paper and then the stamps that I was using today. So the butterfly and the butterfly from Studio Light and the bigger 8x8 stamps will leave on sale. But look at that. See, this is dry. And it's got that flexibility to it, but it is acrylic and the colors are beautiful. See, now I could go in there with my fine liner and finish this up. So much for you to play with. So much opportunity to just go and have a great time. Just beautiful colors. All right, this has been long, longer than I had anticipated, but it is what it is because it is a class. So it is me, Stacey, here at Scrapbooking Made Simple, scrapbookingmadesimple.com with In the Studio with Stacey. This entire month is our Amsterdam acrylic paints. They are by Royal Talons. I'm using product from Sizzix. I'm using product from Jacquard. And then we're throwing in some of our friends here and there. And Studio Light, I love their stamps. They worked so well with all of this. So I will see you next week for our next Amsterdam class where we're going to start incorporating black. We're going to shade with black, tint with white, shade with black, and I might bring in the pearl colors. Get ready to swoon. All right, you guys, until next time, thanks for being here with me. Don't forget to like, don't forget to leave a comment, don't forget to subscribe. You are In the Studio with Stacey, and I will see you in the studio with Stacey next Tuesday, but the next time I see you will be Thursday for our New For You event on Thursday, and then Saturday morning for our Saturday with Stacey YouTube class. All right, you guys, I'll see you later. Bye.